Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's the Sunday night show. We're live. I've got Kev, Joe, and Jay. How are we all doing?
Wonderful. A bit sunburnt, but amazing.
Yeah.
A bit sunburnt.
Yeah.
All right.
Camouflage.
I mean, the only guy who can wear a pink T-shirt and make it look lighter than their actual skin there. I mean, what's going on? He's like I don't know what it is. It's like
I don't even think he's got a T-shirt on. I think he's just naked.
But I want to get viewers in. That's what I'm saying. You know, I need to have that sex appeal.
Already, he's gone to the OnlyFans way of doing it because,
it's one way. It's one way.
Right, we're going to get straight into the show. We're going to talk about Paul Pogba. There's some Paul Pogba talks. We're going to talk about Varane. There's also a really interesting article in the Manchester Evening News about 64,000 fans, I think, have sort of given their thoughts in relation to players they'd like to stay and go, which I think is really interesting for us as a community to discuss, not only as guests, but also in the chat as well. Just a little bit of a hint of that. 51% of people would like De Gea to stay. 49% of fans would like to see De Gea sold, which I find massively disrespectful. But wow. Is this the media driving this sort of I think it's an experiment myself in how the media can manipulate fans just like politicians can, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's start off about Paul Pogba, because this is coming in from Simon Stone, who is very Manchester United correspondent for the BBC. Doesn't really talk about speculation things, and he's saying that Paul Pogba has held talks with Manchester United over extending a contract that expires in 2022. If he doesn't sign, Man United risk losing him in 12 months for nothing. In a depressed market, they feel that they will get way less than £89 million they paid for him, but if he does sign, he will almost certainly get a pay rise. Start off with you, Jay, on that. I know we've spoken about Pogba a bit. Is this good news? Do you think? Also just to add this in, some people might not have heard me say this in the week. Samuel Luckhurst from Manchester Evening News came out with a very interesting line when he said, even if Paul Pogba signs a new contract, it will be a hollow contract. And the way I read that is that he's only signing it because of the money. He won't be signing it because he's committing 4 years of his career. He'd be moaning again in a couple of years, which, I mean, it's totally Samuel Luckhurst. That's not me. That's what he said. But it's the first person I've heard say, even if he does sign a contract, it'll be a hollow gesture and maybe he'd be looking to go again in the next couple of years. What's your thoughts on it, Jay? Because this is going to now kick in now.
Yeah, it's a tough one because the fan base for me has always been very split on Pogba. One has either been very pro Pogba, aka Pogba FC, or you've got fans like myself who are watching football 30 years and expected a lot more from our central midfielders in regarding consistency and productivity. From Paul Pogba, yes, certainly we've seen it in flashes. Going forward, if a player does not 100% want to stay and play for the club, move them on. No player is bigger than the club. And Riola has many times gone on record by saying Paul Pogba is bigger than the club. In an ideal world, we sign Varane, Pogba stays, and we sign a CDM, and ultimately we challenge for a title. And that's what every fan wants. But if Paul Pogba isn't committed to the project 100,000%, well, then the time is now cash in, take the 40, 50 million for him and move on. But it goes back to, if Paul Pogba was to go for that kind of money, Mark, how much confidence do you have in the board to execute a transfer to replace like with like? And you cannot replace a like with Paul Pogba anyway to begin with. So for argument's sake, Paul Pogba goes in August. I think the club will be scratching around on the last week of the transfer window to sign a replacement, and whoever is signed will be a pale shadow of Paul Pogba. But I would argue, if Paul Pogba goes right now, how much of a loss to the club will he be? Dave Beckham left, Keane left, Robson left, Van Nistelrooy, go through legends of the club. For me, Paul Pogba is not a club legend, so if he leaves, the club will move on. It's not exactly as bad a scenario as people leave. For me, the worst case scenario is he stays, runs down a contract, and goes on a free. That's the worst scenario for me.
Just a little bit breaking news. Oh, Kev, get excited, Joe. You're going to get to talk about this. So this is just coming in the last few minutes from Sky Sports via @GFFN, who are Get French Football News, that Manchester United have made a bid of €40 million plus bonus offer to Real Madrid for Rafael Varane, but Madrid wants €70 million. Now, I would just say straight away, in my experience, Get French Football News is not reliable. and would be classed as a tier 3 at best source. So this is on Sky via Get French Football News. So I would not believe this. I would not believe anything about this, to be honest with you, that a bid has gone in. But you know, Kev, 40 million euros, that's about 32 million pounds for Varane, whereas 70 million is more like 60 million pounds. Yeah, do you feel that this Varane deal is going to happen, and does that sound good for you?
Listen, if that is true, then it sounds like typical Manchester United. It's like we're taking a step back, but at the same time, he's got a year left on his deal, and it's the exact same with Paul Pogba. Now, if Man United are offering 40 million, let's say it's plus add-ons, and it comes to, let's say, around the 50 million mark. I said it last week, it's an absolute no-brainer. If Varane's available, his agent stated that he wants to go to Manchester United, you pull out all the stops and you go for him. There is a bit of scepticism with the deal. Is he playing Manchester United and Real Madrid off to try and get a better contract? You go in for him. Whether it's 40, 50 million, Manchester United, for me, have to go in and get him. But it is similar to the Paul Pogba situation, because if Real Madrid, or if that story is correct, and they're saying that what they want 70 plus million for Varane, he's in the last year of his contract. Jokers, man. You're not going to get that, because they are not in the position to be saying, well, we want this fee. It's the exact same with Paul Pogba. That's a bit like Manchester United saying now, if somebody come in for Pogba, probably saying, well, he's 100 million. Nobody's going to pay that. Not in with COVID, what we've been through the last year or so. No football club is going to spend 100 million on Paul Pogba, knowing that in a year's time, you could get him for free. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if behind the scenes, the likes of Real Madrid, PSG are already in contact with Raiola. I said this before Christmas. I still think he'll go on a free. I think he'll walk away from Old Trafford again. But the thing is, you have to look at is somebody could have already agreed. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. If Real Madrid have said to Paul Pogba, you sit it out there for another year and come to us on a free, we'll offer you this, we'll offer you that. He might have already decided. And this is why the one big thing this summer now, the big one for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the United board is to resolve this, because you cannot let this go on throughout the season. You need to get Pogba in, whether you get his agent in or whatever. You want to know, first of all, where's your head at? Do you want to be at Manchester United? We're going to offer you, they're making the best paid player at the club, whatever. United have to do that now, because it is their fault they have let this contract run down. So I'm not asked if they offer him $500,000 a week. It sounds mind-boggling, but to replace him, and I know Jay's saying that if he walks away, you know, what is it? No player's bigger than the club kind of thing. I get that. But with Pogba now, the conundrum is that if he walks away for free, you've got to then go out there and replace him with a player that's what, 90 to 100 million. So in theory, that 450 grand a week over a 5-year contract outweighs that. But for me, it's Manchester United's fault, and it's the fault of the board.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I won't ask you, Joe, about Varane, because since Kev started opening his mouth, Fabrizio Romano's come out and said there's no official bid for Varane. So, you know, this is hot news. You know, this is what happens. You know, 1 minute we've got a bid, the next minute it's not a bid. So, yeah, I get French football news is not something I would have believed in anyway. Yeah, so we'll move on from that. But we'll keep on with Paul Pogba. I want to keep referencing this through the show tonight. So there's been a sort of poll done by Manchester Evening News where I think 64,000 people have voted on it. And it's about keep, sell or loan. And the percentages are broken out like that. 83% would keep Paul Pogba at Manchester United rather than sell him, Joe. Where do you sit on this with Pogba talks?
Well, personally, I wouldn't care if he sold him or not. I think he's absolutely world class on his day and stuff like that, but I do think his day is too far in between. He shows up for France at these big competitions because we've heard a million times he's got better players around him. I think he absolutely, at his best, he is world class, like I said, but it just doesn't happen enough. If we got rid of him for, I don't want to say got rid of him, if we sold him for 40, 50 million and then we spent, invested that and then bought Jack Grealish for 100 million, I'd be thinking that's great business. Because Jack Grealish is constantly doing a Premier League level. He's sought after. He's doing it at international level as well. where he's been a creative force, but also he puts in a grind for the team. So if we were actually investing in getting a player, not simple, like we were, like I think Kev said, you can't, or maybe it was probably both of you said that you can't just go in and get another Paul Pogba, but you want someone who is a specialist in their position, that no one else can play football the way they do. I think that person is Jack Grealish amongst other people. So I think we, if we were doing that, I would be fine. Bye Pogba, thanks so much for whatever you did, and we'll talk to you later. But the club is run the way it is, which means we won't get anyone. We would sell Pogba and then we'd get an equivalent to a Cavani, which I'm not saying Cavani like turned out to be a great deal, but no one wanted it when it happened. It was a free transfer. He didn't play for 6 months leading up to it. So I fear if we did lose Pogba, we'd get an equivalence to that, who I'm not even sure who would be. But it would just, and then we would have that problem like magnified for 2 or 3 seasons before we actually try to buy someone else. So I think if we were a well-run club, this wouldn't be a problem anyway. He would have extended his contract, would have been sold at a top value last year. And it also leads me to believe that if he is to go now, we'll get nothing for it, and he might see out his contract and we'll get nothing for it as well. So it's not a good position for anyone. I feel he will sign a new contract only because we'll probably make him the highest paid player at the club, and then we'll sell him in 2 years' time for huge money. And that's because it benefits everyone that way if he stays. And then, like, contracts aren't worth the paper they're printed on anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. But I feel maybe in the next 2 years he's going, but it's I would sell him now if we could get someone of equal specialists in that position.
And that's Okay. Sorry, I was going to say, Joe, that is the what you touch on there with contracts being not worth written, whatever it is. The thing with Manchester United is, and as fans, why are we bothered about losing Pogba for free? Everybody's on about the financial aspect. It's really for the club. It'll be a smack in the face for the club. Let's not forget, right? One of the happiest days of my life was when Cristiano Ronaldo signed a new 5-year contract at Manchester United. Little did we know, 1 year down the line into that contract, went to Real Madrid. And that was because, behind the scenes, Sir Alex Ferguson said to him, I know you want to go to Real Madrid, it's your dream. Please sign this contract. And after 1 year, if you still want to go, you can go. So the same thing could happen with Pogba. If he signs a 5-year contract, it doesn't mean he's going to outsee that contract at Manchester United. It just safeguard the club, but make sure they get a return.
I also think there's probably a fear on Pogba's side as well that the club is like notoriously, like I just said about 15 times, it's not well run. So if he says I'll sign a contract, they could a year's time go, well, actually, we're going to make you see out your contract. So there's probably no trust there from the player to the board that will allow, say, yeah, we'll sell you in 2 years' time or a year's time or whatever. So I really just think it's terrible for every party. And if we lose him again on a free transfer, we can take the hit. That's why I don't think, I know we touched upon, we had the Varane thing isn't true, the 70 million, but Madrid can't take the hit. They can't demand more money. We can say we want at least 60 or 70 million, but Real Madrid just can't. But yeah, I think it's just a horrible situation, and I think it's just going to get worse before it gets better.
Guys, I just want to put something out here. If you're Paul Pogba, okay, you've been at Man U since 2016. The hustle and bustle of the Premiership clearly doesn't suit the way you play the game.
Yeah,
you go home to France. You're treated and touted as a world-class legend in the media. You're derided in the English media. So, do you think Paul Pogba, again, let's put this question out to people, do you think Paul Pogba, with his mentality, he sees, okay, I'm 28, I'll go back to PSG now, I am going to win league titles, and I am going to have a far better chance of winning a Champions League with PSG than I am going to have with United going forward. So you think Pogba think, you know what, this could be the move that I could make it now. They've just got Varane. I can sit in that midfield, the same as I did. I know what Juventus play a lot of that times out on the left, but I can sit in that midfield and I can run the show for 3-4 years, and everyone's going to see the real world-class me that the French media call me, whereas English media have almost stated me for being consistent. So if you're Paul Pogba, what's your mindset telling you? Is it not telling you, do you know what, maybe I should just go and go now? Just try it.
What worries me is that, I listen to everyone and I'm reading the chat as well at the same time. And I think a lot of people feel, well, let Pogba go. He's been here 5 years and, inconsistent. Do we really miss him? The thing that overarches this for me is that I probably sit in a different camp. Maybe some people agree, maybe they don't, that I desperately want Paul Pogba to sign a new contract and commit to Manchester United for the next 3 years, because I have no trust in Manchester United, replacing a player that is head and shoulders above every other midfielder we've got, bar probably Bruno Fernandes. I know Paul Pogba's inconsistent. I know he's been a bit of a problem at United, but he is streets ahead of Matic and McTominay and Fred. And I just think if Pogba walks out the door, the club will go, well, we bought you Sancho and Varane. And we'll go, so we're not, the midfield that was weak anyway has now not got Paul Pogba in it, but we got you Sancho and Varane, McFred, and I think that's the thing that worries me about. I want Pogba to stay because I've got no faith that we will bring a player anywhere near him good enough to replace him. And also, I mean, just to go back to this poll, I find this very interesting. Well, maybe we'll bring this in a minute because it's about Fred and McTominay. But no, that's what worries me, Joe, is that, it's this whole... We won't. I just don't think we'll replace Pogba.
No, I completely agree with you. We just won't. And we can people can throw out names in the comments and stuff like that, saying, "Oh, we should go after this player, go after this player." We're just not going to get them because we don't. At this moment in time, we're not like a hot destination to go to. Do you know what I mean? We're only going to get players that City don't want. Even Chelsea don't want at this stage, and we're not really getting the players that we really go after, bar Sancho and stuff like that. So. It's
I think if we get Varane, though, I would sit there and applaud that. To be fair,
that's a statement.
Yeah. That, in fairness, that is a statement, but I would still be very skeptical about us getting anyone near Pogba's quality. And even though I like I said, if he was leaving, I'd be fine. See you later. As long as we had someone else coming in. Obviously, no one that's the same as Pogba, but with their own sort of style of play. But it's just not going to happen. If we lose Pogba, we're not getting anyone. We'll probably sign Lee Cattermole, get him out of retirement, maybe.
Well, I mean, it's interesting here. I'll bring this into you, Jade. So, look, I think with Pogba, it's a very divisive thing. My big thing is I just think you've got Sancho on the right. If you do get Varane in, I'd like to see Pogba and another in the midfield rather than seeing Tomney and Fred. What I found interesting is that Fred's played really well for Brazil. Now, it's international football, but he has played very, very well. And I'm surprised he was even in the Brazil squad. So I don't know what state the Brazilian football team's in, but they're in the semi-final of the Copa America. And Fred has been starting games for them. Interestingly, when you go back to this poll, over 90% of Manchester United fans on this poll would keep Scott McTominay, but it drops down to just 70% for Fred. Where do you sit on this next season? Because I mean, we know Ollie's going to, played them 80% of games last year. But for me, I just think if I've got to put a player next to Pogba, it's always going to be Fred. But this, McTominay is obviously a fan favourite as well. So maybe we will see McTominay and Fred next season, regardless if Pogba stays.
Okay, Mark, 2 points. First of all, I can't see how either of McFred are fan favourites. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Secondly, Fred playing well for Brazil in the Copa America. Yeah, it's Copa America, international football. It's not the Premiership. He hasn't done it for Premiership consistently. So anything he does in the Copa America, I'll be honest with you, Mark, I take a pinch of salt. It's irrelevant. And a lot of fans I've seen on Twitter putting up clips of Fred playing beside Casemiro for Brazil, and he's going to come back and do it for us. Easy hell. We're going to get the same Fred we've got the past couple of years. Like, you remember the story came out, the Shakhtar Donetsk top brass, when they got 50 million for Fred, they were going out buying magnums of champagne. They couldn't believe their luck. So Fred should not be in our midfield. McTominay, I know he gets a free pass from a lot of our fan base because local lad with the club a long time, but as we've all agreed and said in the show many times, he's not a CDM, he's box to box. So the fact of the matter remains, whether Pogba stays or goes, United still need to buy a CDM. That's the writing on the wall here. And I know there's been loose links during the week to Cadavinga, but they're loose links, there's nothing concrete. So irrespective of Pogba going or staying, the only show in town right now is to buy CDM and break up that partnership of McFred. But the question, though, back to everybody in the chat, does Solskjaer actually want a CDM, or is he prepared to go forward with that partnership next season? I believe Solskjaer actually sees McFred as his preferred partnership in midfield. That's the issue I have.
Yeah. I mean, you're a big fan of McTominay, Kev, aren't you? I mean, come on, tell us that, and you're on safe ground here because there's a lot of people who do rate him. I just see him as a bench player. That's what I see him as.
Yeah.
I've always said I think he's a really good squad player. The thing about McTominay, and if we're going we're putting McTominay and Fred against each other. I've seen more from McTominay season on season improvement than I have in Fred. So if we're going to battle it out in that way, for me, McTominay wins it. I see a player that is improving. I think he's a fantastic squad player. I think even the performance against England when he played for Scotland, even the proof that he can, play centre-back. Mourinho loved him when he was at Manchester United.
Hold on a minute, Kev. Me and Jay have got to leave. Kieran Woods just made the point. If you think McTominay's a bad player, then you really shouldn't be a guest on the show. It's an early finish. It's an early bat for us, Jay. Off we
No, and he even said Quest on the show. So it's Quest as well, Kieran. So yeah, I think we're going to be staying in the show, Kieran. Unfortunately, just
that's my backup account. That I just sent that message. Super chat.
I mean, yeah. To be fair,
thanks for the chat.
To be fair, I nearly called you Fred then, Kev. Bloody hell. It's not that bad, don't worry. But I think Fred and McTominay are very similar in many ways. And I think, I think Lindelof and Maguire, I've had loads of people badgering me today because they've been going, you were giving Maguire a load of shit. And I'm like, yeah, I was. I think they expected to go, no, I wasn't. And I was like, no, I was. I did say Maguire was shit at the start of the season because I thought he was. And I think since Christmas, as I said week after week, and many people did, he was getting better and better. And I think he's playing really, really well now. And I think Lindelof was his problem. I think McTominay and Fred's problem is that they're just basically the same player. I know they're little and large and everything, but they probably offer about the same. And the club could probably do without one of them because you don't need both of them. Because I agree with you, Kev. I think they're both probably good squad players, but you don't need two. And hence the name which Beth came up with, McFred. They're almost like one person.
And let's not forget, big season for Donny van der Beek. I think a lot of us expected to see a lot of him in the team last season. For whatever reason, it's not worked. I don't know whether it's the Ajax thing, the fact that he's come out of that, system. You seen De Ligt, at Juventus, took him a good season or so to get used to Juventus. A lot of these players that come through that academy at Ajax, they've been coached since they're 5-6 years old. So then to go to different teams, it's getting into that mentality and mindset of playing a different style of football. So that's what I'd be hoping this season, is that Donny van der Beek, if he's given the chance, I know I read in the papers today, Real Madrid want him on loan and stuff, but if he's given that chance next season, can he step up? Because last season, we all wanted to see him when we did, and he was given the chance in certain games. I thought it was, really good job. Good job.
There was somebody in here, I can't find it now in the chat. Sorry, you know who you are. They said that Pogba will sign the new contract. We're not going to dwell on Pogba anymore. I just thought I'd ask the chat, and we'll just quickly go around. Kev, do you think Pogba will sign a new contract? Yes or no?
No.
Joe?
Yeah.
Jay?
I don't think so.
And I think he'll run his contract down. I think it'd be stupid not to be honest, from a business point of view. I think he would be. But just moving on from that midfield situation for a moment, we'll get back into those percentages in a minute because it's very interesting around the goalkeeper and that. But Joe, Jadon Sancho played last night. I've seen your tweets today. I know you're a passionate England fan and you're very happy that we're into the semi-finals. Did you actually watch the game last night or were you out on the piss?
I was out. I was out seeing the sights of Gothenburg. Okay, so I don't particularly want to watch England play any game, especially in a quarter-final for a European competition when half your team are Irish.
Well, we'll come back. I'll come back to you with a different question then. But half the team are Irish. I mean, wasn't that what made you successful in '94? Half the team, most of the team was English.
Okay, first of all, it was 1990 and 1988 where we perfected that, and then you robbed it off us. Okay, just like you robbed our players again. We took in your discarded players that you had no hope in, you didn't believe in, and we gave them a home. We made them feel belonged. And then and then with Declan Rice, we did that for him. And what did he do? He went over to ye, not with a turncoat.
The thing is, actually, we've got so many good players in the midfield that we could do without Declan Rice. As much as I like him, we've got Henderson, Bellingham, Phillips. But we'll come back to Joe and his bitterness in a moment because I can't actually ask him the question. Jay, did you watch the match last night?
Yeah, first of all, Mark and everybody watching, I just want to say I'm a very proud Irishman. I'm a student of history, but I got over that post-colonial inferiority complex a long time ago. I watching English football for 30 years, so I don't get this bullshit that you support an English team, but when England play, you wish them all the bad luck in the world, and you support anybody with England. I think that's bullshit. So
it's hilarious.
I was delighted England won last night. Delighted, and they will be in the final. But I don't think they're going to get by Italy. I just can't see them beating Italy. But I wish them well. I wish them well.
The reason I was going to ask you is because obviously we got to see Jadon Sancho, which a lot of people, haven't really seen, and also seen him in an England team instead of a Bundesliga team. What was your impressions of Sancho last night, and how do you think he's going to fit into United? He's a very different type of winger to what we've got.
I tweeted a picture out during the game. There was 6 Ukrainian players around Sancho and just Sancho, and I tweeted out, captioned this, and some of the captions were hilarious. The Ukrainian players in the second half, they gravitated towards Sancho's side every time he got the ball, because with Sancho, he gives us what we don't have. It's pass and move, quick, sharp, snappy passing. Like Sancho will make a decisive 10-15 yard pass, and already he's moved on for a return pass. We don't have that at the moment in our team. Marcus Rashford, he's head down and lose possession. Unfortunately, Mason's as well. And Martial drifts in and out of games for me. So Sancho is going to add a whole new dynamic into that team. And the space he's going to create for Cavani and Bruno Fernandes, I cannot wait to see.
We will come back to Martial in a minute, because 63%. Well, I'll tell you what that is about in a minute. Kev, you watched the match, I'm sure. Imagine Kev goes as an Englishman. I didn't watch it. Although you're not massively into England, so you might not have watched it. But did you watch it? And what was your thoughts on Sancho last night?
I did. And can I just say, for starters, when I didn't know who was on the show tonight, I was so hoping Ricky was going to be on. Because after last week, right, I had to watch the show back. I was like, did he seriously say that? So we had Ricky saying, what was it? After 3 months at United, Sancho won't be commanding a place in the starting 11. So
he will be on this week. Don't worry. I'm waiting till Thursday night. We'll get him on Thursday because,
the first question would have been to Ricky and said, obviously, he's a football purist. He probably watched the match back 100 times today. It would have been, what did you make of Jadon?
He just laughed at your joke and then went. I mean, you can't get better than that.
That's ultimate friendship there. That's ultimate friendship.
But he probably, on that, Kev, Ricky probably, I mean, we're putting words in his mouth, which is unfair. But he probably, I think Drawty messaged me last night and said, surely Ricky would, or somebody in the chat when I was doing the watch along said, surely Ricky would love Jadon Sancho because he tracks back, he works hard, he plays the simple ball, he keeps to the system, he rotates the ball, he doesn't give the ball away stupidly. Maybe it's just Ricky hasn't seen much of him, because he might come on Thursday and go, you know what, I tell you what, Kev, listen up, that Jadon Sancho is the English Dan James. He gets it. So, we might be surprised, because knowing what Ricky likes about a player, I mean, I just think Sancho last night, it's just very different to anything that England have got and United have got.
He is, and even for that fee, when you look, we could have got him last season, 108 million or whatever ridiculous it was. We've now it's not signed, sealed, delivered. I always say, until you see the player on the pitch with the scarf and all that, pictures, just sort of rein it in kind of thing. But the player that Manchester United have got, that's why I see some people, even rival fans and stuff, going, Arsenal fans for a start, that he's overpriced at 73 million. And you're like, how much was Pepe? We're getting a quality English player who's 21? Best days ahead of him. And last night, and I know that's why I wanted to ask Ricky tonight, I'm sure he might have thrown in, yeah, Kev, but it was only Ukraine. Ukraine, and I'm like, no, but
it's only Ukraine, Kev. I want to see him do it against prime Brazil 1970, and then we'll talk. That's what I want to see. But you raise a good point there, Kev, actually, just to say, the timing of the deal for Manchester United, it got done last Wednesday. Sancho's barely played. As soon as the deal's done, he plays 90 minutes, and he's arguably one of the best players on the pitch. You just wonder if old Ollie's been down to England HQ with Karaki, and they've stormed Gareth Southgate's room, and they've gone, Southgate, pin him down, Karaki. You fucking pick Sancho before I've got this deal done, and I'll let Karaki loose on you bloody you southern twat, you know, because it's like, it's amazing how Sancho doesn't play any games for England. United get the deal done. He starts, he plays the full 90, he plays really well. And it's like, you know, if we hadn't have got that deal done before and he played like that, then maybe there might have been some problems. Maybe somebody else might have popped in. So the timing of the deal was good for United as well.
Yeah, it's a cracking deal. And like I say, on his performance, even Jay said about the picture he tweeted out, there was a moment in the game where he did something, I can't even remember what he did, footwork-wise. It was just, I think they showed it again. He had 4 or 5 players around him. It was probably the one that Jay was on about, actually. And you were like, whoa, you know, that's natural ability, that. And that is total class. We're talking about a 21-year-old who is only going to get better and better at Manchester United. And that's, I would have asked Ricky, I will ask him the next time I'm on, and say, I just cannot understand how you could predict that in 3 months, you know, into the season, that Sancho won't be commanding a place. United haven't spent that much money on a player. And I'm not saying just because they've spent that on him means that he's an automatic first team player. I'm talking, this lad can play football. And I think he will be consistent for United. It's a bit of a hard call to make. I think the combinations, again, I've said it, that you can play up front there now. The likes of Rashford, Greenwood, Martial, whoever you want, Cavani up top, you'll just be able to interchange. And Jadon Sancho can play left, right. He can play cover for, you know, Fernandes. Fernandes was played, you know, a hell of a lot last season. He can fill in that number 10 role as well, and that's what we need, competition for places.
I can't wait to see him. I think he's so different, and I think he's so intelligent, and I think he moves the ball one touch, high tempo. I'm really excited about him. Joe, I will give you a question. Obviously, you had to sit out of that because you didn't watch England last night and the fantastic performance, but Wednesday night, I think it's on ITV or BBC, 8 o'clock. You can watch it again, and then next Sunday, 8 o'clock. There won't be an 8 o'clock show next week, Joe. You can do it on your own if you want, but everyone will be watching England, bringing it home. So yeah,
I'll be practicing my best Danish accent and finding a jersey somewhere and
be Italian next week, mate. We'll have dealt with them on Wednesday, the day. You'll be singing. What's it? Pavarotti, Nessun Dorma next week. Trying to conjure up some. Joe. But he'll be baking lasagna at lunchtime. He'll be singing Pavarotti. He'll be drinking red wine. He'll be everything. Anything will do.
I'll do it every day anyway. Go ahead, Joe.
Joe, quick question, right? You're watching English football all your life, okay? You've been supporting the best club in England all your life. Why do you not want England to do well?
Declan Rice has pissed him right off. You can tell.
Declan Rice amongst many other players. No, I just don't. I support Ireland, and I tend to support the smaller nations. I don't support France. I don't support Spain. I don't support Italy. I like in this scenario, I want Italy to win. I want them to hammer whoever they get into the final, and I want it to be a wonderful victory. But I can't support England because there's Liverpool players to play for England. There's Chelsea players to play for England. Do you know, I support generally the team that has the most many other players on it, unless they're like England. So
big England, because that question could have gone very different.
Yeah. I actually was waiting for a different response entirely. So that was a very diplomatic response, Joe. So
let's give Joe a football question now, in case he changes his mind. We might get songs sung and all sorts. So, Anthony Martial, Jay mentioned Anthony Martial there. Let's go back to this poll. If you've joined us a little bit late, there's been a poll done on the Manchester Evening News where thousands of people have voted about keep, sell or loan. I'm not going to go through every single one, but there's a few quite interesting ones. One of which is Anthony Martial, where 63% voted to sell Anthony Martial this summer. Does that surprise you? And is that where you would be on that, considering now that we've got Sancho, etc.?
For me, I think we were discussing this a couple of episodes ago. I think Martial's on his last chance, like completely and utterly last chance. And I don't mean he's allowed to have like an okay season or like a good season. He needs to come in and have a great season and try to rob that left side attacking place off of Rashford, because there's last chance to live for him. For that reason only, I wouldn't sell him, because I think competition is great and it brings out the best in everyone, bar Martial, who whenever he hits a bit of competition, he tends to falter. So this is, like I said, this is it. I don't see him doing anything in any league unless because he can't do it in the Premier League. I see him like being a success in a slower league, doing like a Lukaku job in the MLS of Europe. But I don't I just don't think he's a top quality player, and I don't ever think he'll get there. But I am willing to give him one last season to try prove it. But I really, really don't think it's going to happen. I think he's an average player who's had 2 very good seasons.
I'm sorry to do this, Joe. I'm only doing it for the reaction. Joe there saying that last year's Player of the Year, Anthony Martial, is just an average player. Jay, what's your thoughts on Anthony Martial? 63% of the nation's probably behind. 63% of the fan base is with you, Joe.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Actually, this is easy, right? Over my shoulder, you can see Commitment is the first. Commitment is the first book in pursuit of excellence. And I don't believe over the last 3-4 seasons, Martial, for me, has shown enough commitment to the cause. For me, okay? He's always been very slow to come back from injuries. Does that show the old phrase, lack of bottle? I don't know. You can tell me different. And when Ibrahimovic came in, he threw his towels out of the pram. He didn't fight for the jersey. Spade dummy out. I think he's drinking from that chance saloon. This is his last chance, really, this season to show that he's willing, really, to rub his sleeves and fight for the cause. No question, he's very, very talented, and none of us would forget how he's burst on the scene. That goal against Liverpool was world class. No, I'm not taking that away from him. Player of the season 2 seasons ago, top scorer, but he has gone on the decline. But we do owe him the benefit of the doubt to give him one more season to prove himself. And also then he's on £250,000 per week. It's a million per month. Who right now is going to pay Martial that kind of money and pay a transfer fee of 40-50 million based on the season he's just had? Nobody. So Martial is going to be here this season. I wish him the best. I hope he does well, but I want to see a lot more commitment from Martial.
Sometimes there are just statements that I just have to put up because they make me laugh. Lee Marsden, Martial is crap. You say it best when you say 3 words. But I mean, I totally disagree with this. But it's all about opinion. So, Kev, where are you on Martial? 63% sell is pretty big. Across 64,000 people. It is. And you can't say it's City fans because they'd be voting for us to keep him if they think he's shit. That's how it works with rivals. So, yeah, where do you sit on Martial? Now, we've just spoke about Sancho. We've got Rashford, Diallo, Greenwood, Cavani, Dan James,
I've got to respond to Joe. Joe, I love the salmon colour T-shirt and that, but mentioning Martial and average in the same sentence.
Okay.
I'll go as far as to say, what do you mean?
It's the pink shirt, Kev. It's the pink shirt.
Okay. I am 65% sunstroke at the moment. I don't understand where this love for him is. Really, I don't. Okay, I see him as an incredibly frustrating player. I think he has potential. No, I don't even know if he has potential anymore to be the great player we all thought he was going to be. But over the course of his 5 years he's been here, he's had 2 great seasons and he's had very disappointed seasons. So overall, his time has been average. Okay, is he an average player because he's constantly being average? Then yes, he is, and that's kind of where I lie in that. I don't give a shit about 5 minutes of magic every couple of years. All right, I want it consistently. If he is a world-class player, if he's a top player, why isn't he doing it? Why isn't he showing it consistently? I want to be proven wrong. I want him to come in next season, take that left side position, and lead us to the next stage where we need to get. Do you actually think it's going to happen? Let's be honest. Do you think he's going to do anything next season to prove that he is worthy of being a starter for Man United? Because he has barely done it over his past few seasons, and I guarantee it's not going to happen next season. He has not, like Jay said, he was born without commitment, without bottle. Okay, when everything's handed to him, when he's got a hand over his shoulder saying you're the best in the world, he can do it every 5 games. Okay, but when you're not doing that, he just falters. He's not up for the fight, and he never has been. So I think. You want to say he has world-class potential, you can stick to that. But for me, he has been average over the course of 5 seasons. And I want him to have one last season because I feel there is something there. But really, if it isn't 25 goals across all competitions this season or equal enough assists, he's gone. And I can't wait for him to be gone if that is the case because I'm sick of it.
Tell you what, Joe, if you could clip that last minute up and put it on Twitter, Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Roy Keane, they'd all be retweeting that. They'd love that. They'd love that about Martial, because it's basically what they've been saying, Kev. You know, there is this thing against Martial. He's 25. He's not committed. He's lazy. He's got a bad attitude. You know, Joe there is only, to be fair, replicating a lot of what I've seen on mainstream media in our fan base. 63% would sell him. You know, we're in the minority, I think, Kev, on this.
It is, and Joe's 100% right with the consistency thing with Martial. I think that's one thing that's driven fans mad about Martial. And to a certain extent, probably at a certain stage last season and over Paul Pogba's stay at Manchester United, it's been about consistency. Martial technically is up there, one of our best players at Manchester United, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, the main thing with Martial is, and this is what he needs to quickly work out in his own mind, is his best position, because he wants to be a number 9. Jay rightly said that when Ibrahimovic come in, he took the number 9 shirt off him, put his nose out of joint a bit. You know, Martial's playing out on the left, didn't prefer that. I think that is Martial's best position, out on the left-hand side. I don't see him as a number 9, don't see him as somebody who can hold the line in the Cavani mould, and looking more long-term on the left-hand side, I've got no problem with it. But what it will come down to, and if we're looking at it as in, well, you've got to sell a player to bring somebody else in, Martial and the money that you could probably get, you'd probably get back what you paid for him. If you're looking at it as, you know, a kind of the way that you had to sell somebody to bring in funds to buy somebody else, then I could actually see Manchester United selling Martial. I think they would look at that and think, well, if we can get 50, 60 million back for him, we can reinvest that in somewhere else in the team, because one place we're not short now is on the left and the right-hand side. We've got an abundance of good attacking players.
Yeah, I would. I'd keep Martial. I mean, everyone knows I'm a big fan of Anthony Martial. I would keep him, but I mean, obviously, I disagree with the consensus that, you know, we should get rid of him. But for me, there's many. I just like the player. He's always been one of the players that gets me off the edge of my seat. I thought he had a bad season last year. I'd be happy to give him another one. The season before, I think he was our player of the year. And we have got Dan James, and I don't care what anybody says. I'll respect people who have an opinion, and if you don't rate Martial or you don't rate his attitude, that's up to you. I'm not going to try and convince you, but I just would say 2 words: Dan James. I mean, you know, he's got to go before Anthony Martial goes, and Anthony Martial offers way more than him. And the reality is, again, I wouldn't trust Manchester United to sell to let Paul Pogba go and not replace him, and I wouldn't trust Manchester United to sell Anthony Martial and replace him, and we'd probably keep Dan James. And that, to me, is, I think, you know, if you want to get rid of Martial, that's fine, but I think we'd get rid of Martial and keep Dan James. And I'm like, that can never be right. Let's talk about something else, because this is quite interesting. Dan James, 56% would only 56% would keep him, but the goalkeeping situation was really interesting. So we're talking about this poll again on Manchester Evening News. 52% said across 100%, 52% would keep De Gea, 48% would sell De Gea, but 87% would keep Dean Henderson, only 13% would sell. I mean, that's a massive amount. And taking away the fact that it's Manchester Evening News and Samuel Luckhurst is the chief reporter and probably bot attacked the De Gea thing and the Henderson thing to sway it, I still think there'd be a massive amount of people who feel it's time for De Gea to go and they want to go with Dean Henderson. We saw it this morning. There was a story, Jay, that Dean Henderson's been told he's the number 1. I mean, obviously leaks all around United, because I heard that 2 months ago. The only thing I think, and look, everyone have their opinion, is we cannot go into next season with De Gea and Henderson. It's not a good situation. Ollie's got to grow a pair there and make a decision and remove one of them. And he's got to sell one. You can't loan a goalkeeper out on a 350 grand a week.
Okay, where do I start? Firstly, Mark, I'm shocked with those numbers. And I know it's a Manchester Evening News poll, so it's easy to circumvent numbers and stats to fit your own agenda. We all know it's easily done. Stats can be easily circumvented. But any fan that thinks David De Gea should be sold and Dean Henderson put in as number 1 incumbent, did they watch Dean Henderson play last season? Did they watch his mistakes? And have they watched the body of work of David De Gea over the last 8-9 years? It's like comparing apples and oranges here. Look, Ollie does need to go a pair of balls, no question about it. We've covered the show many times, the cost of goalkeepers, and we ran the numbers there back in January. It was, I think it was £26 million per year between Henderson, De Gea, and Romero. Now, I don't know what Tom Heaton is getting, but we've lost Romero, the best backup goalkeeper we could ever wish for. And now, conceivably, we could be left with Henderson and Heaton as our goalkeepers. And we are supposed to be challenged for a title. My arse. We're not going to challenge top four with Henderson and Heaton as backup goalkeepers. And secondly, the wages De Gea is on, 375 per week, the best paid player at the club. There is no team in world football going to pay that money to De Gea. Therefore, if he goes, he'll go on loan, and we end up paying half or a third of his wages, which is very bad business. And I saw the tweet today about Henderson being guaranteed number one spot. I thought that was preposterous. I couldn't believe that. The obvious sale is sell Henderson for 35 million, leave De Gea where he is, and then in a year or two's time, if De Gea goes in decline, sell him on and get Donnarumma. That's what I would do, but what would I know?
Kev, where are you on this one? You know, I mean, I've spoken about this so many times. I mean, to be honest with you, I just don't want to be taking a. You know, I agree with Jay. I just don't. If Ollie's going to make the decision, I just don't see the point in me personally being negative about Henderson next season, because that's not what I want to do. Even though I totally disagree with it, I think De Gea should be the goalkeeper.
Well, that's the thing. For starters, right? You don't know whether that vote's been sabotaged and who can actually vote on it. Because for me, David De Gea should be Manchester United's number one. He is a club legend. He's done it at the top level consistently, been fantastic for Manchester United. I like the fact that Dean Henderson's come back to Manchester United and said, I'm going to take him on. I want the gloves, the number one shirt. Fine. Competition is great like that. But I said it last week, and at the risk of like repeating myself again, Dean Henderson needs to just take a bit of a step back, and he can learn from David De Gea. Instead of coming back and going, I'm better than him, I should have his place. I don't mind that, but David De Gea should be United's number one. I think Jay's absolutely bang on with that. It shouldn't even really be a debate, because like you say, the risk is that we go into next season now and this argument will rear its head. And the media love this. There's no other club in world football that can have an argument and a debate about who should be the number one keeper. And that's what they're turning it into. The Manchester Evening News are now setting an agenda where United fans are split on who should be Manchester United's goalkeeper. Should it be David De Gea? Should it be Dean Henderson? You know, it should just be the best goalkeeper, the one that's doing the business, that plays in net. That shouldn't really even be an issue, should it? It is like an agenda that they're actually setting. And obviously the English media are going to go down the Dean Henderson route, because they want him playing for Manchester United every week, because they want to get him into the England team. They want him to be the number one keeper for England as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Joe, what's your thoughts on it?
So I think I like what Jay said on we in a couple of years go for Donnarumma. I think we actually missed a trick on that now, because he was literally a free transfer. I would have got rid of Henderson and De Gea to bring in Donnarumma, because he is maybe the best keeper in the world, but if not, he will be in like a year or two time. And then so I think the problem is now is that we're going forward with one goalkeeper that's on a decline and one goalkeeper who will never be as good as De Gea was at his peak. So this is going to be a position that's going to worry me throughout the next season, because I don't think either of them are good enough to be number one for Man United. And I think we always kind of say, oh, we're too sentimental at the club. We give people contracts that don't need it. I think we're being like that with De Gea. I think we're looking at it through rose-tinted glasses, because he had a fantastic game against Roma and stuff like that to show that he deserves to be in the competition to be number one. But like neither of them are good enough to be Man United's number one goalkeeper. The best I can go with is maybe De Gea for another year or two to get someone better. But I think we just missed that completely by not just going for Donnarumma on a free transfer and just doing what we can to get rid of the other two.
I think De Gea could play for another 4 or 5 years easily.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Top goalkeepers, man. Van der Sar I'd love to United to have got Van der Sar a hell of a lot earlier than what he did. Now, he joined Manchester United later on. What did he play to? He was nearly 40.
40. Yeah, but I just think...
And you do say that keepers get better, you know, with age. I would have no problem now having David De Gea at Manchester United for another 4 or 5 seasons.
I really don't think it's going to get any better. I don't think it's going to touch on what it was a couple of years ago. I think the mistakes are getting more frequent than they were previously. And I just think a good end to the season has kind of changed people's minds on him. I think that this is going to be a problem position for the worse over the next couple of seasons, unless we try to upgrade on both of them. It's not going to happen this season, but if it happens next season, it'd be great. But I just don't think it's going to get, I think I've said this already, but I think the goalkeeping position is going to get worse before it gets better.
The thing is, I've got to be fair on both goalkeepers. I think Dean Henderson made a bad mistake against Sheffield United before Christmas, and I thought he was very bad against Liverpool. And I think David De Gea had a bad game against Everton in the 3-3. But apart from that, I think they both had a good season, apart from that, in difficult circumstances. And I thought against Roma, De Gea's performance was probably the best goalkeeping performance I've seen of the season by any goalkeeper. Yeah. So I think that they're both... I think the problem is... to be honest, this is a creation of Solskjaer. He never should have gone into the season with 2 goalkeepers in that situation, and he definitely cannot do it again. And I think, you know, if you go into next season with Henderson, you better be selling De Gea, because you cannot. It'd be a bloody embarrassment to loan a goalkeeper where you're going to be paying at least 250k a week to the club who's got him.
But Mark, and sorry, but I was going to say, let's be honest, like, De Gea's going nowhere with his wages, and no one's going to, like, I completely agree what you're saying about it's embarrassing sending him on loan, but no one's going to buy him, do you know? And then it kind of tarnishes his reputation if we're selling, but we're still paying his wages, do you know what I mean? Or let him go on some sort of free and still paying part of his wages. So I think De Gea, just for pure monetary wise, is here for the future. Is here for a goodwill. I know Henderson has signed a 6-year contract last season, but that doesn't mean anything. That means we can sell it. That's
the thing then. The clubs created this situation, haven't they? Because it's only just over a year ago we gave David De Gea a 5-year contract on 350k a week. If I was De Gea, I'd sit down and go, hold on a minute. You want me to go where on loan? Swivel on it. I'll sit here. I'll stay here. I'll stay here, thanks.
And then the main one, right, is Dean Henderson. If the stories are true, right, that Dean Henderson's come out and said, I want assurances that I'm going to be Manchester United's #1 next season. Can you ever imagine that happening under that, like, the leadership of Sir Alex Ferguson? Can you imagine somebody trying to dictate to a manager and say, I want a short, you know, he's not even our first team goalkeeper. And now he's spouting shit saying, I want assurances I'm going to be the first team keeper. If I'm the manager, I'm calling Dean Henderson in. And, you know, and I'm saying, listen here, knobhead, you know, you put in performances next season, you prove that you could be Manchester United's #1, and we take it from there. We'll do it on a game-to-game basis, right? Performance-wise, you prove to me, if you can back up the talk, walk the walk, talk the talk, you can be the #1 keeper. You prove it to me in training and in performances on the field. Until then, don't ever come to me again and say you want assurances you're going to be the #1 goalkeeper, because that is not how it works in sport, and especially in football. Anyone that's played football knows that it does not work like that.
I think we've got to be careful with Dean Henderson, because I think he had a very good season at Sheffield United. He does come across as very confident, and you are trying to take the place of somebody who is a United great to many people, who many people don't feel is ready to go yet. So you're always going to be on a hide into nothing. He can win people round, of course he can, but there's a way of doing it. And I don't think he's been helped by the media. Somebody just said there, you know, how much of this is the media? You know, there are certain journalists out there and certain ex-players who are obsessed with De Gea being out, because I think there are certain journalists and certain ex-players out there who want to go at Pogba, who want to go at Bruno, who want to go at Martial, who want to go at De Gea. And there's a running theme there. And that's all I'm going to say. But look, if Henderson's the goalkeeper next year, I just hope De Gea isn't still here, because I think that is going to be damaging to everybody. But I can't see how we'd move him on. Jay, I want to talk about Luke Shaw. What? There is a player that, you know, is not good enough, is overweight, is a shambles. This is some of the not my quotes. I've always backed Shaw, but
of course. That's what Mourinho said about him.
Yeah, Mourinho. I think certain ex-players have said it as well. Again, the media's been in on him. I mean, it was only last Tuesday, or was it? Yeah, Tuesday when we beat Germany, that he got 6 out of 10 from Sky Sports. You know, I don't think his rating last night was that good from certain outlets, even though, you know, he's now got the nickname Shaboto Carlos. What was your thoughts on Luke Shaw at the moment?
Okay, first of all, I was a massive fan of Jose Mourinho as a manager and as a coach and as a motivator, but his treatment of Luke Shaw, he went down in my estimation. He really, really did. There was one game, I can't remember who it was against. He stood on the touchline and he said that Luke Shaw played well tonight because I was his brain.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. Jose and I had a bit of a divorce after that. Luke Shaw, a picture went up by the English FA last night after the game. Shaw's walking off with his top off. And the amount of abuse and fat shaming Luke Shaw got from that picture from English fans, it was absolutely disgusting. It's on my Twitter. It's on my Twitter feed. It's disgusting. English fans slagging off, arguably right now on form. I'm saying on form right now, the best left back in the world on form, and your own fans are slagging him off for being fat. Like, the man is an elite athlete at his sport. You know, not every player can look like Cristiano Ronaldo. Wayne Rooney certainly didn't, but Wayne Rooney, he was world class. He was a legend. So people, I just don't get your armchair fan. They see a picture of a player that they don't know. They've seen him play, and all of a sudden, he's X, he's Y, he's Z. I just don't get it. Luke Shaw was up for the season to be our player of the season. For me, at the latter in the season, when Bruno was underperforming, Luke Shaw kept his performance level week in, week out at 8 out of 10. He reminded me actually of Dennis Irwin in his prime. Dennis Irwin, every week you knew what you're going to get. It was going to be 7, 8 out of 10, week in, week out. Luke Shaw has that left side at our club on lockdown, and I just don't think the English media wanted him playing left back for England in the European Championships. Again, it goes back to English media-driven agenda vis-a-vis Henderson, and now it's a negative media agenda against Luke Shaw. He's definitely not getting the credit that he rightly deserves from the English fans, and he's not getting from media. And back to your point, Mark, regarding Sky Sports against the last game, not against Ukraine, he got 6 out of 10.
Germany.
When he was easily,
Germany,
against Germany, when he was easily 8 out of 10 playing as a wing back, and he outshone Trippier by leaps and bounds. So I don't know. Again, I put a question to the floor: Is it a thing in English culture that people are not happy unless they can say negative connotations about an athlete that's in the public domain and in the public eye? But the negativity towards Luke Shaw, I just don't get. He arguably, for me, he's been one of your best players in the European Championships, but he's not getting the respect he deserves. I don't get it, Mark.
Joe, are you going to tell us that you don't rate Shaw, or is he
No, Shaw's okay. He's okay, you know. He has moments. He's all right. You know, better if he played for Ireland, but still. No, Shaw is absolutely. I couldn't be happier. Everything he's come through, like fracturing his leg against PSV. I always have in my head that he's like 27, 28. It's actually insane that he's only 25 years old. And he's had to come at 21 years old. He had the fracture. He had to suffer through being Jose Mourinho's, having Jose Mourinho as a manager. And he did all that, and he's finally kind of showing the player that we were promised when he was signed. 9 years ago now. And I remember Southampton were laughing at us because we bought him for 30 million to make him the most expensive teenager in the world. And then we saw a glimpse of it. We looked like we were getting it, and then the PSV incident happened. And then just over the past year, ever since Tellez came in and doing it for England as well, even though it's for England, I'm absolutely delighted for him. It's just wonderful to see that he's really getting on there. And the abuse, I saw the post Jay's talking about, like, it's absolutely disgusting how they attack him over that. They just feel they need to get someone. You know, I'm not saying English fans as a whole, but like some people, they just need something. If someone's doing well, they have to do something to take them down. And it's absolutely disgusting. But I couldn't be happier for him. Himself and Maguire really like bossing the Euros this year, and fair play to them. As long as they take that form onto United as well, then fair play. That's all we want.
Kev?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'll touch on the Luke Shaw. Obviously, I'm just football fans in general, isn't it? I mean, fat shaming Luke Shaw. I mean, Jay will know more than me. The guy drinks protein shakes 24 hours a day. The guy's got muscles in his eyelids, man. Look at him. Muscles everywhere. But certain players are just designed. You know, we're all built differently. And this is what I will say, right? Luke Shaw, I've seen the picture. I don't instantly look at him and think, look, he's out of shape, he's this, that. And he has had his critics in the past. We will say Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho both criticised him, thought there was a player in him, thought he needed to, you know, trim down and stuff. It's one good thing that you can say from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign at Old Trafford is, from looking on the outside in, you would say Luke Shaw is the type of player that needs an arm round him. He's not going to respond to that Mourinho, you know, criticism, the tough love thing. It's the reason, like Martial as well, he strikes me as a player that you don't go in too hard on him. He's more of an arm around, you know, come on, lad, you know, and this and that. You have to sort of talk him through it. But I will say on that picture of Luke Shaw, he's got his top off. Yes, he's not got a six-pack. Yes, he's not ripped up like Ronaldo. But I will say Lampard and Rooney used to get this all the time. Take the top off, rival fans, you know, you fat bastard or whatever. Them two won the Premier League, won top honours, right? Steven Gerrard was probably ripped up or whatever. He never won the Premier League.
And we love to remind him of that.
Don't win trophies.
Keep it up.
It's I tell you what though, I mean the interesting thing is, and I think you're absolutely spot on to bring that up, Kev. It's a great point. Is that one of the things I always say about Luke Shaw, you know, over the years, because I've had to defend him against, you know, fat things and this, that, and the other, and you know, apparently I'm obsessed with Luke Shaw, and no, I'm not obsessed with Luke Shaw. I know what I think, and I stand by it. I've always believed he's a quality player, and people say, well, it's only in the last 6 months. He won Player of the Year in 2019. That's not 6 months ago. So, you know, people are just been blind to it, and that's fine. I've got no problem with changing their opinion. But what I've always said about Luke Shaw is, look, and the fat jokes, you know, I get it. It's banter, you know, but the reality is, whether it's banter or not, one of the biggest strengths of Luke Shaw for me is I've never seen anybody with speed and energy. He's back and forth. He makes the right back look lazy. Because every time, like Sterling yesterday or Rashford's got it, and they're holding up on the edge of the box, you know Luke Shaw's coming into the picture to overlap, and then you know if it breaks down, you know he's going to be up the other end. He's so fast, and he's got so much energy, and I think like you've hit the nail on the head there, Kev. It's about genetics, isn't it? That's what it is. You know, you might. I mean, what's his name? That Akinfenwa who plays football. He plays high-level football. Yeah. I mean, he's still a professional footballer. All right, he's not a Premier League footballer. He's not like when you play pub football and, you know, Jake from, you know, the guy who drinks 20 pints a night is playing up front and he's coming up after 5 minutes but he's got a good shot on him. These lads are professional athletes, and you get all sorts. You get Peter Crouch, you get Luke Shaw. You know, different bodies, as I'm sure you're aware, Jay, as the specimen that you are.
Look, everybody has what you would call a genetic ceiling. I was tested at only 18 years of age in a lab by a sports scientist, and I knew exactly what type of athlete I was going to be. You were created in a lab by sports scientists. That's what I heard. Tested. Basically,
you do look a bit like one of those. I reckon you might be like Terminator 2, you know, where they send people back and you get that big light and then you just end there naked. And I bet underneath, about an inch underneath, it's just a big Terminator robot, isn't it?
Yeah, underneath, Mark, underneath the skin and the blow-dried hair, all I am is just an ectoskeleton. That's all that's there, mate. But basically, you know, you can test an athlete at 16, 17 as a teenager. You can test their lung capacity, their lactate threshold, how much power they put out under stress, and you can find out what sport they're going to predetermine to. The Russians did it for years. The East Germans did it, and we started doing it a long time ago. And now it's been done in the UK. So I knew from those tests that I was predisposed to be in endurance sports. I was good at football, but not skillful enough to be able to make a living out of it. So I became a cyclist and was decent enough to make some money from it for a couple of years. So it all goes back to genetics. So Luke Shaw, as you said, Mark, he's able to get up and down the pitch ad nauseum, and he made Trippier look lazy for me. He genuinely did. If you are a right winger, come against someone like you, Luke Shaw, that's in your face for 90 minutes, I'm sorry, after the second half, you're going to stop running at that right back, and you're going to be passing that ball inside your midfield. Luke Shaw is that good. No, he doesn't have a six-pack. So bloody what? Six-packs don't win league titles, to quote Mr. Kevin Ashford here. Stevie G never won one. I'm going to say that again. And look, every player has their own genetic ceiling that they get from the grandparents. And somebody said here that, and I see it in the chat, that Roberto Carlos is coming up here, Shawshank Redemption, and all these lovely terms for him. I'm glad to see the love for Luke Shaw. But when you have a player like Luke Shaw, and then you have a player like Akinfenwa, and then you've got a player like Peter Crouch and Ronaldo, completely different body types, because based on their own genetic potential. That's just being a human being. We're all different. Like, if every one of us here on the show, we all followed the same diet, the same training program for a year, we wouldn't look the same, because our genetics would determine how we'd look. So anybody that's commenting on Luke Shaw, been fat or whatever, I'm sorry, you're deluded. You're absolutely deluded. You know what you're talking about.
Well, that's the end of the show. It's been a good one. I really enjoyed it. Obviously we'll be back in the morning as well with the Varane news moving ahead, and England semi-final coming up. And yeah, I think from a Man United point at the moment, Sancho, very exciting. Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire have got it on lockdown. I mean, we could have spoke about Rashford, but we can maybe leave that for the next show. Lots more we could have talked about. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Big thanks to Joe. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks very much. I can't wait for the next one. Bring on Denmark. And
Kev, thanks for coming on, pal.
Thanks very much. Just remember, six-packs don't win trophies.
Leave the six-packs till after you've won the trophy, I say, and drink them. And Jay, thanks for coming on. Thanks, Mark. Pleasure as always. No worries. And thanks, everyone, for watching, as ever. And we'll speak to you again on the morning show. Yeah, great show. Thank you, everyone, for watching.